As a gentleman from Washington State, Mr. Kilmer.
Thank you, Chairman, and thanks, Mr. Attorney General, for being with us. It was a pleasure to get to meet your family out in Washington State. I know they were residents in my district for a spell.
And they did love it, I gotta say.
It's a great place. I want to actually follow up on something that Chairman Frelinghuysen touched on in his opening comments. He referenced marijuana policy and some of the complexities around this issue, where you now have states, including Washington State, where in our state voters passed an initiative to legalize adult use. I know there are other states that are in a similar circumstance. The last administration issued what was known as the Cole Memo to try to set some rules of the road, to provide some certainty, not just to states, but to small business owners in a state like mine, to tribal enterprises that have now started businesses. The decision to rescind that memo has created tremendous uncertainty. I read in a press release from Senator Gardner from Colorado that the department's rescission of the Cole Memo, that he was assured that from the president that Colorado's legalized industry would not be targeted. I'm hoping you can help us understand what accommodations are going to be made for states like Colorado and Washington. I'm not clear on what the commitment from the president was to the senator, but my constituents sure would like to know.
My view is that marijuana is not a healthy substance. Whenever we talk about legalization and other such issues, we need to make clear that we are not in any way suggesting that the consumption of marijuana is not harmful. The American Medical Association is crystal clear on it. The American Pediatric Association is, and the psychosis connection is clear. And we got to determine some other matters. So first, I think we wouldn't want to say that. Secondly, the state of Washington and other states have either eliminated or virtually eliminated marijuana restrictions, some for medicine only and some for recreational, so-called recreational use. It remains a violation of federal law. That's not off the books. The federal law is still enforceable throughout the country, and I have felt it not appropriate for me to somehow give a safe harbor or protection to areas around the country where it still remains a violation of federal law. Now, we know that the threats that we're focused on in the Department of Justice are fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, prescription abuses in large amounts that are leading to addiction and death. Those are clearly where we're moving. I think I saw like 1% of federal prisoners might have a marijuana, be in custody for marijuana. It's probably a plea bargain on that. So, but our United States attorneys in your home state and every state have been instructed to use their financial and resources and capabilities and their judgment after meeting with local law enforcement and local leaders to pursue the cases they think are important and worthy, and I can't exclude marijuana from that. I don't think it's appropriate for me to do so.
Based on the president's commitment to the senator, is there any further guidance to states like mine that are just looking for clearer parameters?
I know, look, let's be frank. What they like is a statement that they've been provided safety, a safe harbor. I don't believe I can give that. They'll just have to look and make their own decision about how they conduct a marijuana enterprise.
Let me shift gears, because you talked about where the department's energy ought to be focused, and that is battling the opioid epidemic. It's costing tremendous amount of human suffering, human life, a tremendous amount of money. I'd love to just get, in the time that I have left, your sense of where the department's resources are best focused Do you see it as primarily a public health issue, a criminal justice issue, both? And as someone who represents some areas that are often left behind in securing federal resources, tribal communities, some rural areas where this is an enormous problem, but they struggle to apply for grant funds and things like that. Can you talk about what steps you'll take to ensure that some of these at-risk communities are getting the resources that they need to effectively fight this?
Well, I was appointed United States Attorney by Ronald Reagan in 1981, and drug use had been increasing steadily. It took more than a decade, but the University of Michigan study showed that over half of high school seniors in 1981 acknowledged using an illegal drug. That dropped by 50% in 10, 12, 13 years later. That was huge. I mean, we need to get the message out, don't start. This is dangerous business. You get addicted, it grabs you with a power that so many people are never able to break free. Their lives are lost. It's a death sentence, one expert told me. So we start with that. This funding that you've passed will help us have a much more robust PR prevention campaign. Then you've got the treatment that many people can be saved, and treatment can be helpful. There's a lot of money that you've passed to do that, and then we're going to do our part to focus on it. What are the key things we believe? The prescription drugs, the overuse of prescription drugs are addicting people, and when they can't get enough prescription drugs, they tend to go to heroin and fentanyl and cocaine or other drugs too. And so we need to bring that down. We're going to succeed in that. We're going to tighten up dramatically the amount of prescription opioids out there that often create the addiction. And then we're going to focus heavily on fentanyl because it's such a killer. It is a killer. One little mistake in how much you take, and you're lost. Our Deputy Attorney General's staff was in another city in the country last week, and they found a lady on the floor. They gave her, her face and lips were blue. She was not breathing. They were able to save her, and Narcan injection came quickly, and they saved that lady. People are dying all over the country from fentanyl overdoses. So that's part of what we're doing. We've got to tighten up at the border. We've got to continue to press the Chinese and focus on precursor chemicals and the Chinese production system. They need to do more. We have every right to ask them to tighten up on what they're doing. So there are a lot of things we can do on the opioid front, but the biggest and best thing, if we can convince more people to not start,
Thank you.
that would be the winner.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General.